Every week before watching an episode of WandaVision, I'm concerned that there won't be enough to talk about, and then afterwards I'm worried there's too much. But there's really a lot this week to talk about, so let's dive right into the fourth episode. Be forewarned, there will be spoilers ahead. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. WandaVision, Episode 4, is streaming on Disney+. It's directed by Matt Shakman, written by Jack Schaeffer, Bobak Esfarjani, Megan McDonnell, and Cameron Squires. Episode 4 is entitled We Interrupt This Program, as it presses pause on the sitcom antics of Wanda and Vision, and instead focuses on the character we've come to know as Geraldine, played by Tiana Parks. While there were only a few slight clues dropped in the third episode, Episode 4 backs up with a dump truck and unloads a lot of answers that have been nagging folks from the beginning. The series' worst-kept secret is finally revealed, that being that Geraldine is actually Monica Rambeau, daughter of Maria Photon Rambeau, and last seen as a child in the Captain Marvel movie. It appears Monica disappeared when Thanos did his snapping thing and returned to a very changed world. After finding out her mother passed away in the interim, Monica takes up with S.W.O.R.D, which is finally revealed to stand for the Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division. It's an organization that tracks down, monitors, and takes on superpowered problems. Tyler Howard, played by Josh Stamberg, an acquaintance of Monica's, is the acting director of S.W.O.R.D, which seems to have replaced S.H.I.E.L.D. after it was revealed the organization was corrupted by Hydra. While Monica wants to head out and investigate space happenings immediately, Howard reveals that she's grounded to earthly affairs at the behest of her late mother. This teams her up with Agent Jimmy Woo, played by Randall Park, who we last saw tailing Ant-Man in his film. Woo and Rambeau are sent out on assignment to strange happenings on the edge of a town called Westview, which no one seems to remember even though there's a huge billboard advertising it. When Monica gets a little too close to the force field surrounding the town, she disappears, and that's how she ended up in Wanda's sitcom world, as Geraldine. Somehow, once the force field is crossed, reality is shifted around you to make whomever or whatever it is fit into the sitcom world. So the advanced drones sent in become toy helicopters like the one Wanda found in Episode 2, or how Monica Rambeau becomes Geraldine, the new gal who just moved to Westview. I really dug how in just a few minutes of this episode, an info bomb is dropped, filling in a lot of the gaps this story had been missing from the beginning. In such short time, Tiana Parks is able to inject a hell of a lot of character, and a lot of her origin is dropped all at once. Within these moments of drama, you get to know a lot about Monica's character. It helps that Paris is one hell of an actress, able to shift between plastic sitcom world and the real one in a blink. So far, Monica is my favorite part of this series, and I hope the spotlight shared in this series leads to a bigger role in the MCU in the future. I began collecting comics right about the same time when Monica's Captain Marvel appeared, and will always see her as my Captain Marvel rather than Marvel and Carol Danvers. The rest of the episode shifts from Monica, who is trapped inside Wanda's sitcom reality, to the reintroduction of Darcy Lewis, played by Kat Dennings, who we last saw in Thor: The Dark World. Since then, she's become a doctor and is recruited by S.W.O.R.D to investigate the Westview situation. With the combination of the FBI, CIA, S.W.O.R.D, and other organizations befuddled as to what's going on, Darcy's the only one able to figure out that something inside of the town is broadcasting a frequency that can only be picked up on an old TV set. So for the rest of the episode, Darcy, Agent Woo, and the rest of S.W.O.R.D are sitting around trying to glean as much info as they can as the viewers of this sitcom starring two Avengers. Dennings as Darcy is slightly less annoying than she has been in the first two Thor films, and her pairing with Randall Parks Woo makes her less so as the two comedians banter well with one another. We also see Agent Franklin, who I can't find referenced anywhere in the comics, enter via the sewage line, and once he crosses over into Westview, he becomes the beekeeper with the S.W.O.R.D logo that we saw in the second episode. While we found out that Monica and Geraldine was ejected physically from the field around Westview when she brought up Pietro and Ultron in episode 3, there's no clue as to what happened to Franklin when Wanda did a little rewind edit when she first saw him. The episode ends with the reveal that Wanda is the dark force running the whole thing, making edits when people's personalities come to the surface and keeping people from entering and leaving the town. Or at least that's what Monica believes. A lot of the names were dropped in this episode. I did the homework and checked out some of them. Darcy and Wu begin to use facial recognition tech to identify the characters we've met in the first 3 episodes. They appear to be people playing characters in the Westview sitcom, so things get a bit overly complex as actors and characters' names are lobbed around quickly here. The first names dropped is Vision's boss and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Hart, who are really named Todd and Sharon Davis. Sharon Davis is the supervising art director on WandaVision, as well as Iron Man 2. Was this just a shout out to someone behind the scenes? It seems so, since I wasn't able to find any connection with an existing character in the comics. Todd Davis has a small part in Iron Man 2. I don't want to make assumptions, but most likely he is Sharon Davis's husband, and another shout out with no comics connection at all. Other names tossed out are Norm, who is played by Abhilash Tandon, John Collins, who has been playing Herb, and Isabel Masureda, who plays Beverly in the Westview world. Though I looked, none of them have a connection to the comics either. And then there's Phil Jones, played by actor David Lengel, and is identified as Harold Copter. I've already established my theory that this is the same Phil Jones who is married to Arcana Jones, a card-carrying member of the Squadron Supreme. His wife in Wanda's Westview world is Dottie, played by Emma Caulfield Ford, which I believe to be Arcana Jones, and is set up as another sorceress trapped in this Pleasantville world. They're obviously put up against each other in an extended tense scene in episode 2, where the two meet for the first time. I still stand by this theory. There's no mention of Dottie or Agnes, played by Kathryn Hahn, at the S.W.O.R.D base. Out of all the characters, Dottie and Agnes are the ones not detected and identified by Darcy and Wu. Theory time. First, I don't want to brag, but I did predict Agent Wu was the voice from the radio.
Check out the big brain on bread!
Now, my assumption that the beekeepers were AIM agents might not have been completely on target, but I still think there are diabolical forces at work outside of Wanda's mental blocks and denial. Some believe Agnes is actually going to turn out to be Mephisto, Marvel's version of the devil. I still believe Wanda is trapped in this reality with a few other sorceresses like Arcana and Agatha with them, as well as S.W.O.R.D attempting to understand and manipulate her raw power. We'll see if I'm on to something soon because we only have 5 episodes left. I still think AIM is going to be one of the other organizations that S.W.O.R.D is teaming up with to investigate this whole incident as well. A lot of answers were given in this episode. I like how Darcy and Wu were transformed into avid viewers of the show, much like us watching it every week. In one episode, a whole new level is opened up for this mysterious series. I'm not only caught up in the plights of Wanda and Vision, which really seems more and more like Vision is dead and Wanda is just reanimating his corpse around the place, which is hella creepy. We interrupt this program occurred at the right time. I think it's going to appease those who are fiending for answers and shined a well-deserved spotlight on Parrish's Monica Rambeau. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Gravetrancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're